back next time. Alright, so I want to talk today about the video of the old Elite STF that we did on Tribble, the Counterpoint space one, where you fight Deep Space Nine. And then we also yesterday did the new Elite one that they just updated, that's called the Assault on Terok Elite. And I just want to give you guys a short look at what that looks like. If you do have like trouble with a spoiler, this might be troublesome because, well, we sort of show the mission and I want to give some commentary on how we did it or why we did certain things. So it's sort of the first look at how you will then do those, or could potentially do those missions. So we'll go into the first one that's called Counterpoint. We have on Tribble currently an issue that your devices always get unslotted if you change maps. That's a little annoying, so you basically have to reslot them every time you switch a map. And the first stage you have to defend Deep Space Nine, which is the big station in the middle, not entirely unexpected. It's honestly quite a lot like the old... Do we have an echo somewhere? We shouldn't. It's quite like the mirror event from how it works. You first defend the station, then you close the portals, and then you have some final boss fight, which is now actually totally different from the previous one. So at the first stage, as you can see here, we have to defend Deep Space Nine. We have two groups of enemies that are already both present, so we just stay there, kill them until they are all dead. We have to watch out for the optional, which is to keep the station above 50% HP. That is, in the current build, possibly more troublesome than on this one. This is before they nerfed the HP on the Deep Space Nine station. So we didn't really have to worry about it too much. We repelled the invaders. Now we have a 30-second countdown. I'm adjusting the graphic settings because on Tribble everything is a little sketchy. Okay, let's finish that. So once the 30 seconds have been successfully waited, we have a few new enemies coming in, and it might be a good idea in the future to have someone like guard the station. Otherwise, as you can see here in the far back, that is the portal. The players there can just interact with it. If you take damage, that interrupts the interaction. However, if you have something to absorb damage like attack pattern expertise with the use of an attack pattern, which gives you these temporary hit points so you don't actually take damage, that helps prevent you from getting interrupted. So I'm just flying around here defending the station a little. This is not the recording that was uploaded to YouTube. This is our first attempt where we didn't get the second optional, but we'll see that in a little while, just to give you some heads up on why it looks different. At this point, someone else is flying around interacting with the portals. I'm sort of defending the station, and it's probably best if you somehow, after you close your rift, kill the enemies that came from it, because if the station, when it goes live, does not have that much HP, you can see how it, like, there are a lot of enemies at a certain point when no one really defends the station, so that might get you into trouble a little. The Mirror Federation guys have a few abilities. Most of them aren't really game-changing. You have the tractor beam from the cruisers. The science vessels have those feedback pulse abilities. That can be sort of annoying. Overall, they are okay-ish enemies. I don't dislike them too much. I think they are pretty cool. Okay, so we closed 13 portals. We'll wait for the next phase. We could also just have flown around and like actually interacted with those portals. Now we have the final stage where the big station appears, and we now have two missions basically. We have to, or actually we have a theoretical 3 missions. We have to keep our station above 50%. We have to lower the enemy's station on average health to below 50%. and we also have to beam over a few troops. Now, the problem with reducing its average health is that if you like let it stay at 100% for 9/10 of the time it was there, and then like kill it or something, which is not actually possible, your average health will still be quite high. So and that is what we saw on the video that we later uploaded. We decided to reduce its HP first, so the average is quite easily under 50%, and then we take care of the rest, like beaming stuff over. If we start with beaming stuff over and then at the end try to shoot it, it messes stuff up. So when this phase starts, I'd suggest to go with like full damage on the station. You could leave one player behind to defend the own station. Yeah, this is not working out too well, but you will see what the big problem with killing the station later on really is. We also had someone disconnected, he just rejoined. There have been some technical issues, as always to be expected on Trill, but that's not too big of an issue. And as you can see here now, the station is at 79% and our average health is still at 87. So it ticks down really, really slowly because already we are for quite some time in this phase now. So now we decided that it's time to actually kill it. We all go into the flank end of the station and slam it dead, which actually does take quite some time. As you can see, like the station has pretty high HP. So we'll just sit here. Now it goes below 50% and you can still see how the average is at 83. And the biggest problem will show in just a second. We'll just let the DPS make it a little more dead. 32, 31, 30, 29, and 25 is the lowest that you have seen. And what happens now is the station actually gets untargetable. The current health turns to 0. And the problem is it now gets healed back up. It regenerates to 50%. As you can see here now, it now says Terok now current health 50. And that's a big problem because that means if you like get it below 25%, it actually regenerates quite a big chunk of its HP, and your average value will therefore pretty much suck. So what you want to do is you go in when this phase starts and you shoot it to like 40% or something, and then just like leave 1 or 2 people there to actually get it to like 35, 30, whatever. You don't want to cut it too close because like the worst thing that could possibly happen is it regenerating to 50% and just repairing all the damage that you dealt and all the time that you spent is basically wasted. So just go in there, reduce it to like 40, 35 something, and then leave it as it is, because as you can see here, even though we killed it for a second time now, and the scimitar can't really move through it, the station, let's go back a little here so we can actually see this. The average was at 65, even though like we killed the station twice. So the final stage now is some reinforcements of the mirror fleet with a new time dreadnought in the middle, temporal dreadnought up top there. It looks a little like the normal one, it's just a little bigger. I personally didn't really see any amazing abilities they do. You just basically sit there and you shoot them dead until all of them have been vanquished. Alright. So that's how you do the new space one. You kill the enemies, the 2 groups close to the station, you close the portals, then you go over to the station, the enemy station, reduce its HP to 35, beam over the people and make your station not die, and on the final stage you kill the enemies. That's basically the strategy that you need to know. It might, as I said, be useful to allocate someone to actually like guard the station, or to make sure that everyone kills the units that come out of their spawn. If you want to see the one where we do actually get the optional to have the station below 50% on average, you can check that out on YouTube. There's the other run that we did. Additionally, we have the assault on Terok Elite, for which I want to skip to the second run that we did, which starts about somewhere in here. Okay, so you start out after warping in this awesome room. We have someone crash, but the game has this briefing going for us. We will now beam over to the enemy's Deep Space Nine mission, which is the Terok. We appear in the Quark's bar, have a few of those NPCs over there. Now these missions are all on elite difficulty, and I don't know if it's really intended or not, but they have pretty low HP. We kill them rather quickly. So you wipe out this first group of attackers, talk to the beachhead leader, and you then can progress to leaving Quark's bar. We are currently now waiting for our people to reslot their abilities. As I said, all the consumables have been removed from the tray on Trouble. Currently that's an issue. Also there's some issues with that you can't really click it, but yeah, okay. It's all not a big deal. We'll make it. So now we progress to the next part. We leave Quark's bar, we run down the way. The other path is blocked by a force field, so there's no other direction we can potentially go. We wipe out this group of NPCs that are blocking our way. To the left we have another force field, so we actually have to go here. And we now come into a room which has two ways. Like you can go to the right, or you can go to the left if you follow this route. On the first run I actually went to the other side, so I could potentially show you that as well, but they basically look identical. You have these areas of free space where enemies are, and you have now, after a certain time after you killed the initial group, you have these people warping in or getting transported in actually. Can we see them over here on the left? This is the NPC that we have to protect, and we have enemies spawning in from all these places basically, and we have a certain amount of time that our NPCs have until they have to finish their project. If they get attacked, they stop progressing on their task. That is indicated by the progression bar above their head. Like in CCA, you know that animation of the progress, and it slowly fills up. It's just really slow on this one. So covering him with a covering shield might be a good idea, as our engineer did here. Or it also healing might be a good thing. The crystalline spike that we received from the replay, or I shouldn't say replay, of the CCA event, which taunts all the enemies within range, that is also quite good on this, so that they stop attacking these people, because they can actually die, and there's an optional to keep them above 25% HP. As you can see on the minimap, we have two circles, so this is where I am and our engineer cover the area, and on the other side we have three people, so you have to split up the team. You could potentially, before you go in, like discuss who should go where. It's not too much of trouble though, so yeah, just make sure that you're a little spread out and defend both sides. Okay, so then we continue on shooting all the enemies that are always warping in after you killed a previous wave, which is a little problematic, I'd say, because you don't actually get any increases in reward, as far as I can tell. Like, there isn't a counter for how many you killed or something. It's just that you kill them, they respawn, and the more you kill, the more damage you dealt. But yeah, but you don't actually get anything for doing it. You just stop them from attacking your guys, I guess. So potentially not that much DPS needed. We still decided to like kill them as fast as we could. Okay, our side is done. Alpha Console project is filled up, as you can see, and that's it for this stage. We didn't fail the optional on this. Like, if you go back, it says optional is not failed. Don't hit 25%, so we should make it. But at the final result screen, you can see that currently it doesn't register any successful optionals, so I assume that it's pretty bugged. Alright, so that was pretty much the old parts that you get around to, like they are identical to everything else anyways, where you just run in, shoot people. Now this next stage is a little strange at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that difficult. We aren't really sure if, or like how we could speed this up, because the problem is we now get locked in this area by mirror leader with 2 force fields, one in front and one behind us, and you can already see like these consoles that we have to interact with. One is on the left here, so I run back to the first ones. Those are actually behind us at that point in time, and now we interact with the consoles. Let's look for a second at the optionals here. It's time until brute force solution is found, that's 5 minutes, find solution in under 120 seconds, and override consoles with a typo in correct sequence before time limit. So the problem is there's no real indication on what you have to do. You basically just go there, interact with it, and it says correct find next console if you hit the right console. Then you go back to one of the 6 other consoles you interact, and it says possibly incorrect sequence resetting. That's the one that you don't want to see. The ones that you want to see will be the correct find next one, and then you have to connect a certain amount of consoles to actually unlock the force field. The problem is, it seems like there is, on every attempt, there's a unique order, so it changes from run to run, but within one run it's always the same. And the problem is there's no real indication of if this console might be the right one, as far as I can tell so far. Possibly there is, but if so, I didn't see it yet. And it seems that only one person can really do it, because when someone used the first console and I used the second one, it showed me the incorrect console thing. So possibly all 5 people could interact with like the first console, then with this someone uses the second console, and if he has the wrong one, everyone else spreads out to the other ones. But the problem is we always have enemies spawning in, so we found it just easiest to make one person do it. He also usually remembers pretty well which consoles he used and what the order is. So I'm using the 5th console now here. Force field is deactivating. This one was the one that we didn't want to use. And that's a little special, sort of like that, but I don't really know how that will hold up if we did it quite a few times. Okay, and now this is the final stage of the mission. Mirror Leader is going berserk. She really doesn't like us too much. And the problem with her is that for most of the time she's not actually taking damage. As you can see, it shows critical flank but no damage number, and her HP are not dropping. So what you have to do is, there are 3 circular ground transporter things, I guess, and you lure her onto one of those. And then there are 3 corresponding consoles in the corner of the rooms, like this one in the back here corresponds to this transporter platform. And if you use it, it turns blue, and if she's on top of it while it's active, she loses her defensive buff and is actually damageable for, as far as I can tell, about 20% of her HP. And then she turns immune again. So you can see now immune, like no damage numbers, and on most effects it's immune. So we basically stand behind those transporter things. Also worth mentioning is that you do not take any damage if you stand on top of it while it's active, but she has to be on it to actually drop her defensive thing. And the problem is that the consoles lock out for a little time, and you also have to watch out for the fire. So she puts down fire under random players. So the problem is, if you do what I just did, stand in front of the console and she puts the fire under you, you actually get into trouble, because then you cannot interact with the console. The fire actually kills you pretty quickly. So you should stand next to the console, but not right in front of it, because the interaction will always move you to the middle of the console. Okay? So don't stand at the console if you're not currently interacting. But only go there to activate the ground effect. Don't wait there for too long, otherwise she might put some fire under you, and that could potentially be horrible. So, we are just working this down a little, 20% more done, and you always want to stand basically 1 meter behind one of these circular things to make sure that if she attacks you, currently she targets, for example, Luther, that you actually place her atop of one of these transporter platforms like this. Now, he is standing over here, making her go towards him. Right on top of this, someone else over here is using the console, and therefore she loses her defensive. We deal quite some damage, 20%, and immune again. And that's sort of a problem. Like, the feeling on how long it takes her to actually go into the next immunity is a little too short. She could definitely do with more HP, like basically all the NPCs in this mission currently. But as this is still the triple test, I have high hopes that the HP will increase. As I said, this is already the highest difficulty of Elite, and at 10% you have won the mission. She will not be stopped, and beams out. So we have one more thing to do, is click on this orb in the back here, which basically is the finishing interaction. We beam out, see this awesome cutscene, and appear back in the starting room and get our reward for the Elite queue. As you can see here now, apparently we didn't solve anything and we didn't protect the technicians, but I think that's pretty much bugged. As you could see earlier, that is what we did. Alright, so from the general perspective, a pretty good fight for what we currently have. So I'd say this mission is definitely a way in the right direction. I personally quite liked it, but the enemies could use a little more HP. So I hope you guys got the general idea. If you do have any questions, let me know in chat. Let's see if we already have some comments. Merlita. Okay, I could picture this being very frustrating in a park. So could I. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, you can't really lose it the way it currently looks. Like, you have as much time as it takes, but I definitely see, like, when someone wouldn't move on top of the, or wouldn't move her on top of the circle thing, then you can't progress, and that's a problem. I'm not 100% sure, like, there might be a maximum timer or something that she automatically drops her shield if you wait like 1 minute or 2, but we didn't really try that out. Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. Does she have any sort of buff going that would indicate any of that? Because I don't see it. Like, these are all debuffs that we apply to her. She uses target optics, but there's no way for you to see that she is actually immune on her buff tray. I would really like something that says it's immune now, do something, or like possibly put a help somewhere that explains why this works this way. I mean, we figured it out within not too long a time, but then again, you know how it is if you play the random group. Alright, so it seems that everyone is quite confident they know all about this mission now.